Hello and welcome back to another Stay Creative video where I, Amaniris, continue my trek into this art recovery journey with a new quest. Today I'm jumping back to an old idea I found in a rather old sketchbook. I have several sketchbooks over the years, and part of my quest list these days is also to include filling in new sketchbooks. I used to draw in them all the time, but things changed and I had sadly stopped. Thus, this time, maybe feeling a little nostalgic at the same time, I dug through some of those old sketchbooks, picked one at random, and chose this particular character. It looks like one that was a bit more on the simpler side. I did find a date to another piece in this book for 2011, so I'm going to assume this mare was initially created around the same time, which would mean 2011, that would have been around my first year of college, art college. Yeah, that would be around my first year of art college. Back then, you had to actually present a portfolio, letter of recommendation, all that jazz to this particular college just to get in or even be considered. And when I look at the stuff I had created back then and potentially showed, I do kind of wonder what they saw in these leggy critters I drew that said, yes, let them into this college, give them a scholarship, it's gonna be fantastic. Yeah, I mean, look at these guys, look at those legs for days, hello. Yeah, the only thing that I can presume actually saved me and allowed me to get into this particular art college was that I had some decent still lifes and life study drawings from a previous college. So I'm gonna hope it was that particularly thing versus all these very leggy critters. But I mean, given back then my knowledge of how to break down photo references into something tangible that I could understand and recreate that breakdown into a new illustration, I didn't quite understand that back then, so yeah, I mean, it's fine. I still got in, so it worked out. Though I do suppose the joke is a bit on me, given that I never actually landed a company job after this college, and that was like their whole entire thing, essentially, was like, hey, come to this college, we'll teach you a bunch of stuff, you'll get a job. Yeah, that never happened, but that's okay. It's like the wrong side of my brain kind of likes to be mean and tell me that the only reason that they let me into this college was out of pity. But like I said, I wasn't a total dunce in art, so I know that's my brain just being stupid. And the thing that I'm sure actually saved me, like I said, was the life studies. They were at least on the good side, decent enough for, to show that, yeah, I understood at least the fundamentals and basics. But, I mean, when I look back at these old sketchbooks compared to what I did towards, like, the end of that college year, so it would have been, like, a 3-year span, there's actually a huge difference. So, even though I didn't land a job or anything substantially exciting after that period in my life, I gained a lot of knowledge in things that I struggled with before in terms of art, so I'd say it wasn't a total loss. But just to say right now, I'm well aware that art college is not necessary for everyone. or most in general, or at all sometimes. For me though, at that time point in my life, I needed it. It was a way for me to gain real world experience and to fly from the nest, as they would say. The structure and environment for me was an absolute necessity. Though if I had to redo it all over again now, yeah, I'd probably say that I can learn more just going through other people's tutorials and stuff, and I have a lot more self-discipline than I did back then. Returning back to this remake, I guess, or edit, completing a thought from over 10 years ago, I suppose, since, as I showed earlier, the initial idea was just rough sketch on paper. It was very rough. I know at the time in 2011 I was writing a lot of stories, coming up with a lot of characters. It doesn't look like I had a complete thought for this particular mare, so maybe it was just playing around. I mean, I can see that I've done different costume ideas and such for her, but there's no descriptions, and I couldn't find any other information on her, which I know if I'd taken this particular character seriously for anything like a comic or story, I probably would have written the information either on a piece of paper or slapped it on the back, but there's nothing here, so maybe it was just for fun. I don't know. It's hard to say. When I do get stuck on either character creation or just drawing in general, I find this to actually be one of many helpful methods to spark that creative process again. Sometimes by looking at these older creations from my younger self, we see new ways to improve on it, or just gain new ideas in general. New stories, new adventures, vast new worlds and possibilities and potential. That alone can be enough to spark a new beginning, or if stuck, an art block, whatever in general. That little boost right there, or kick you may need just to pick up pencil again, might be right there in your old artworks. It's about the only reason I actually keep so many years worth of sketchbooks. Many of these date back to even when I was a teenager. So not only is it like a self-time capsule and maybe an occasional ego boost just by seeing how much I've improved through all these years, but sometimes those old ideas, whether they were created out of whim or purpose or just because, they're like the spring breeze an artist needs. And yeah, sometimes that's just all you need, just that little push. I would actually like to do this particular challenge again sometime, maybe with a more complex creature design from around this same 2011 college period, or maybe even sooner, because I know back in college I had a few classes that had me create pretty much literal worlds for I think it was a game design class or something. I don't fully remember. So I have a lot of ideas. It doesn't matter if I ever do anything with them afterwards, but it's nice to see, at least for me personally, who is still on this journey of trying to recover my artistic self, I suppose. It's nice to go back and pick up these old creations, even if I no longer remember what they were initially for. It's nice to pick them up and just relive them, essentially, update them, and give them a new breath of life, essentially. If there are any arts from when you were a kid, have you tried to redraw them? I mean, I'm curious. Let me know. You can, you know, talk about your experience if you've ever done redraw challenges or anything like this. I know I've done others in the past too. Some would be like a year, like almost directly a year after the initial one, just to see how much you've improved, to visually see a measure of growth. So yeah, let me know. I'm actually rather curious if anybody else has done this particular challenge. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up today's quest, and I consider this lovely mare good and done. No clue what I'll do with her, since I still have no use for such a character. She doesn't fit within any of my current stories. But I'd say completing this particular idea from 2011 was actually kind of fun and relaxing in its own way. It was actually just nice to do. I think totally it took me maybe about 2-ish hours, given that the initial idea was already created and I was just recreating it. And to close out this video, as a reminder, if you enjoy my art and my videos, be sure to check out my Patreon in the link below. Your support gives you early access to comics and videos, so choose your weapon and let's build some stories together, yeah? Stay creative, everyone. Thank you.